Well, fancy this. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Monmouth County. My name is Sarah Stewart. My pronouns are she and her. I serve as coordinator of the Community Life Special Events, and I help with some miscellaneous projects from time to time. These next words, I think, are probably the most important words that are ever spoken in this beautiful space. And those are, whoever you are, whomever you love, however you arrived at this beloved place, you are welcome here. Our mission is to create community, transform ourselves, and transform the world. I draw your attention to the back side of your order of service for announcements and service information for next week. For those on the live stream, hi streamers, and for video viewers, the order of service link is available in the YouTube service description box. So, following the story wisdom, kids are invited to join Emma Farkas for Sunday Fun Day, games, crafts, getting to know each other, and most importantly, having fun while in community. After the service, those gathered in person are welcome to visit with one another. Refreshments, and I understand there are some special refreshments today, will be served in the community room, and people of all ages are welcome to visit with one another. If you are new to us, please do visit our website, uucmc.org, where you can sign up to get all the latest news of the congregation by email. We look forward to getting to know you better. Please put your devices on silent as we enter into worship together. And again, welcome to this place of love and hope.
Two alone stand together in the pouring rain. Two unknown to life together, both the joy and pain. Let us look now toward tomorrow, and we'll leave behind the past. For today is all that matters. Our todays go all too fast, and quick become old photographs of you. A lifetime look at love when joined as two. To prepare to learn the meaning of eternity. Two, unaware that all the universe is theirs to keep. And if they don't know the answers, there'll be time to wonder why. There'll be time enough for laughter. There'll be time enough to cry later on, after the earth is born anew. A sunrise has more meaning when there's two. 2, hoping love will get them through the life they've just begun. 2, hoping God will take 2 hearts and make them beat as one. Let us pray that they find happiness in sharing of this life, and to show the world what love is, they now stand as man and wife. Although we don't know what the words mean, we say we do. Take my hand forever. Together we will now be sharing one life, one heart, one lifetime dream of me and you. One life from 2.
You can come up now. I've got a few things to say first. Sit down in my chair, why don't you? Why not? Why not? It's very comfy, actually. Isn't it? Yeah. I'm the Reverend Dr. Craig Rubano, hoping that your summer is going well, that you are taking some time to restore, getting some rest, gathering friends and loved ones by your side as we ready ourselves for a new congregational year, whose theme is Seeds of Love. Indeed, all things grow with love. I know one outpouring of love that will happen during and after our annual in-gathering service this year on September 8th. For that is when we will bid farewell to our beloved music director of 18 years, Dr. Louise Chernowski. And another will happen a month later, when, because of the generosity of our endowment committee's financial allocation to this year's budget, we will welcome Christy Nelson to our congregation. Some will remember the many times I have cited words from this much admired teacher on the power of gratefulness. On Saturday, October 5th, from 10 to 3 p.m., free of charge, right here, free of charge for UUCMC members and friends, Ms. Nelson will lead us in a workshop on the power of taking nothing for granted, followed by a signing of her book, Waking Up Grateful. Christy will then join me the next morning to co-lead our worship service Sunday, October 6th. So please put that weekend on your calendar. There's an information table in the community room to register and become a part of this special time in our community. The power of being together gratefully is what constitutes us as a congregation. So any opportunity we have to celebrate the bonds that bind us is an occasion for which to be grateful. And one way to create community is by joining a covenant circle this congregational year. Covenant circles, lay-led small groups that gather to discuss matters related to monthly themes. Please sign up now. The deadline's August 23rd. Sign up now. There's a link in the e-blast. There's a link on the website at the Covenant Circle page. And there's even a paper for those who insist on paper right in the lobby. You can sign up in person. Why not? And speaking of outpourings of love, wow, have you come to the right Sunday? This morning, longtime members Irene and Howard Passmore invite us to join them after the service in the community room for a joyful time of celebrating their 60th wedding anniversary. Wow. Yes. This is the stuff of which poems are made. And if you like poetry, this is also your lucky day. You'll know how much I love poetry because every week that I'm in the pulpit on Sunday, you receive a meditation from me containing a poem on Wednesday afternoon. Yes, you do. Receive it. And the past 2 years, all have been invited to gather on Zoom on Thursdays at 4 for what we call tea time, to discuss the poem I have shared and in the process to open our lives to one another. to share caring resources and to engage in community building. So this morning you will hear from tea time participants sharing poems from their heart, many written by them. I invite us to listen carefully and to receive the gifts of selves offered with love. For our call to worship this morning, with worship understood in its original meaning of a shaping concern for all that is of worth, I invite our community life chairperson, Judy Stevens, to share one of the most treasured love poems of the previous millennium.
Craig invited all the participants to also give a one-sentence overview of why we might have chosen the poem or written it. And I spent a delightful afternoon, well, 3 or 4 hours worth, of going through poems trying to decide what to read. I am not a poet, so it was definitely a read. And decided to, finally lit on Shakespeare's Sonnet 29, because it struck me how very differently I read it now than from when I was first exposed to it as a high school or college student. When in disgrace with fortune and men's eyes, I all alone beweep my outcast state, and trouble deaf heaven with my bootless cries, and look upon myself and curse my fate, wishing me like to one more rich in hope, featured like him with friends possessed, desiring this man's art and that man's scope, with what I most enjoy, contented least. Yet in these thoughts, myself almost despising. Haply, I think on thee. And then my state, like to the lark at break of day arising at heaven's gate, sings hymns from sullen earth, sings hymns at heaven's gate. For thy sweet love remembered, such wealth brings, that I scorn to change my state with kings.
And indeed, who would change their state with kings if you had love like Irene and Howard Passmore? So each week we gather, we light a flame in a chalice to signify the sacred space we create each time we gather. And so I invite our lovebirds, Irene and Howard, to light our chalice flame, and I invite Jane Ruskoff to share a poem she has chosen for this special Sunday of sharing.
Good morning. To put down my shadow. I'm Jane Ruskoff, as Dr. Reverend Craig Rubano said, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. When I first read this following poem, In the House of Belonging by David White, I thought of my dear friend, Maxine Gunther. It reminded me of her love of trees, especially a mighty oak in Forestry Park. This is Lost by David Wagner. Stand still. The trees ahead and bushes beside you are not lost. Wherever you are is called here, and you must treat it as a powerful stranger, must ask permission to know it and be known. The forest breathes. Listen, it answers. I have made this place around you. If you leave it, you may come back again, saying, here. No two trees are the same to raven. No two branches are the same to wren. If what a tree or a bush does is lost on you, you are surely lost. Stand still. The forest knows where you are. You must let it find you. Thank you.
All things grow with love. I invite us to rise in body and our spirit to sing our opening hymn, a text by Irish author Century Archbishop of Dublin, the Most Reverend Richard Trench. Number 299 in our hymnals, Make Channels for the Streams of Love.
Good morning. Thank you. I'm back from a 3-month sabbatical, and it is so good to see you. Yes. Yes, thank you. I'm really, really happy to be here. And I want to share a special poem with you all today by Maya Angelou called Life Doesn't Frighten Me. This poem is a powerful reminder that even when things seem scary and uncertain, we have the strength within us to face those fears with courage. Imagine a world where shadows dance on the walls, where strange noises might make you jump, and where challenges, both big and small, come your way. And now imagine facing all of those things with a big, confident smile, knowing that nothing can truly scare you. That's the spirit of this poem. It's all about believing in yourself and knowing that no matter what, you are strong, brave, and unstoppable. And I want to invite you to join me in this poem, to join me in summoning this courage together. And when I raise my hand like this, say, life doesn't frighten me at all. Let's try it now. Very good. Shadows on the wall, noises down the hall. Doesn't frighten me at all. Bad dogs barking loud, big ghost in a cloud.
Doesn't frighten me at all.
Mean old mother goose, lions on the loose. Life doesn't frighten me at all. Dragons breathing flame on my counterpane, that doesn't frighten me at all. I go boo, make them shoo. I make fun, way they run. I won't cry, so they fly. I just smile, they go wild.
Life doesn't frighten me at all.
Tough guys fight all alone at night. Panthers in the park, strangers in the dark. No, they don't frighten me at all. That new classroom where boys all pull my hair, they don't frighten me at all. Kissy little girls with hair in curls, no, they don't frighten me at all. Don't show me frogs and snakes, and listen for my scream. If I'm afraid at all, It's only in my dreams. I've got a magic charm that I keep up my sleeve. I can walk the ocean floor and never have to breathe. Life doesn't frighten me at all, not at all, not at all. May it be so. And now our children and youth will go off to today's activity with Go Now in Peace. Thank you, Tom.
Can you hear me? Oh, yeah. Every week in this congregation, we are provided with an opportunity to practice generosity. This is your invitation to contribute to the well-being of our congregation. For those of you present here in the meeting house, the plates will be passed by the ushers. You may also join this time of generosity via text, send your offering by mail, or charge your contribution online. Please give generously.
Hi, my name is David Schreier. I am proud to serve as Congregational Council Moderator. Got that right. My pronouns are he, him, and his. From a gender perspective, from affective perspective, they. I stand here on the land of the Lenni Lenape, commonly known as the Delaware folks, but have reason to believe that the folks who lived in the shore area, we're not sure if it's the Delaware or Atlantic, are called the Shayikbi. And speaking of the folks who lived by the shore, that brings us to the poem I'm about to read called Channel Crossing. The poet, his name is Donald Lemcole. He is famous for a very short while, a little like Yoko Ono, as being sort of a guru to a progressive rock band called Yes. So this is his poem right here. And he had quite a strong influence on the work of the band. And, but by and large, other than that, a fairly reclusive individual. I have reason to believe, and some folks who are looking at this service now are thinking this might be somewhat of a commemoration of his life. He died 4 years ago. Probably no funeral. He was born 4 years after my dad was born in 1933. He died at the height of COVID in Ocala, Florida in 2020, and 4 + 4 was about 8 days after my wife and my cat, myself, moved from North Jersey to the shore. The poem was selected from an unpublished piece of work here, no cover, no nothing, based on, I'm sorry, losing it a bit. Give me a second. Right, so it was about, he was doing an English Channel crossing, I guess, in the late 50s, roughly when I was born. And I believe he came from a background that when he was doing this crossing, he was, thinking all these foreigners. And he was a poet from day one. As we get through the poetry, the key is for the poem is basically home rhymes with foam. And our ideas of home, when we're kids, when we're older, he's looking down at the sea, watching this wave, and the reason it hit me is I was with, just a week ago, with my almost 3-year-old grandson, Jacob, and a wave hits him, and he was so mesmerized by the water that, I picked the poem, and his younger brother Luke wasn't with him, and so the idea was water was believed to be by many the essence of all we come from. Anyway, I tried adhering to the public speaking guidelines, 1 or 2 sentences. It didn't work, so I apologize. I apologize to the professionals among us, and it's going to be sung. And I did sing before I learned to talk, I think 5 years ago. So I'll give it a shot. The music is based on 4-part Shastric scriptures that Yes put together for Tales from Topographic Oceans. I'm not plugging it, it was 1974, and here it is. Not that those foreign faces touch my hand with their damp breath of voices muttering home, but that the waves themselves shake hard my hand. That turns my mind away from thoughts of home. That turns my mind away from thoughts of home. I must look there and downward where my eyes cannot catch the blazing dragon bone, where the hair waves weedy in his eyes, and tides sift flesh and feature dim from bone. I must think their sea changes, think of stone, like diamond mined in valleys of the sea, of kelp-like sculpture on a Gothic stone, or obsidian portraits scattered in the sea. Bottles and crab shells be his restful tomb, whose mouth gulped pleasure in the channel foam, be sweet haven as well as salty tomb, and we attend our journey to the foam. Our journey to the foam, our journey to the foam. Do 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 do. Congratulations, Howard and Irene.
I am so honored to participate in this service. My name is Bill Wilson. I'm a 30-plus year member of this congregation. I was served as past president. I don't even remember when. And this congregation to me is the epitome of love personified and community supporting one another. And the poem that I wrote is Love's Shining Within. I promise not to sing or dance. I'm just going to read it. And I have on my reading glasses because I didn't want to fumble around and put them on once I got up here. And when I write a poem, part of my process is obviously to think of the message I want to share with everyone. And I most times dedicate a poem to another poet. And Love Shining Within is dedicated to William Blake. Now, those of you who are not familiar with William Blake, I recommend his poems of innocence and experience. And the ending of this poem refers to one of his most famous poems, The Lamb, which was a symbol to him of God and love. And as counterposition to The Lamb was another famous poem of his, The Tagger, T-Y-G-E-R. So I'm going to start with Love Shining Within. And this is dedicated to Irene and Howard, who are, to me, the epitome of what this poem is about and what our congregation is about, love. And to celebrate 60 years, the effect that that has had on me is very personal because it's made me love my partner more, Carol, and promise to her that we've been together 25 years, so we've got a lot of catching up to do with Irene and Howard, but with God's help, we are going to do it. So I'll get to the poem. To be as a child, to inherit the earth with all of its bounty and riches from birth, to see only goodness, to bathe in the light, to know not of evil, of fear, or of fright, to never, united in spirit, in work and in play, thinking of others with the dawn of each day, to never fall victim to the ravages of hate, never to scheme, criticize, or berate, guided by love and feelings sublime, to which others have striven since the beginning of time, to be without pettiness, shortcomings, and greed, transforming good wishes and thoughts into deeds, never striving not once from the path that is right, inner compasses set, guiding us through the night, seeing people as people, regardless of race, following no laws except those of grace, to be as the Lamb, free from all sin, to share his great gift, love's shining within. Again, Irene and Howard, Howard and Irene, thank you for all you are sharing with us. And I want to acknowledge Reverend Craig and his tea time and all of the other fine ministers we have had in this congregation, because this is a community of deep love and caring, of which I have much pride to be a member. Thank you.
Ria isn't feeling well enough to be here, but she allowed me to share her contribution, and she will adhere to the two-sentence rule. She was brought up in a rural town many years ago. She's not telling the year, but it was after World War II, and it was before Willis Carrier, inventor of the air conditioner, was well known. Her family moved into a house next to a farm with horses, chickens, and dogs. She remembers it as a wonderful time and wishes more kids today could experience that kind of life. She entitles it Summer. Then, in class, waiting for the summer, windows open, smelling the new smells of the season, walking and skipping home from school, breezy and warm. Open the door. The house is cool from the shade of trees. The day is longer, play more, homework on hold. School is out and we shout. No more teachers' dirty looks. Free, free, free. To pick blueberries in the woods behind the house, to just lie on the grass and be. Watching all the bugs and insects in the grass, pack a lunch, and ride my bike for miles and miles. Turn around and see the sky with white fluffy clouds and the sun shining so bright. I am the light. These days are but a memory whenever I feel the beautiful summer breeze.
I wanted to share this song of mine because it occurred to me as I was reflecting on words and how powerful they are, that there are other ways for communication to happen and to express and to move. So this is sort of touching on that. It's called Dancer's Touch. Sometimes I call you lover. Sometimes I call you friend. Sometimes I see a stranger as I watch you walking in. But somehow there's a harmony, though I've never sung this song. Make it up as it goes along. I don't know the words, I'll probably play it wrong. To dance, to move, to speak no words, to understand with nothing heard. A movement's light I can't explain. A dancer's touch
left me this way. Sometimes I speak your name to the dark of an empty room, pretending that you'll arrive in the whisper of an unfinished tune. And I can see you move, though it's only in my mind. I try to follow you, though I lose my way, afraid of what I'll find. To dance, to move, to speak no words, to understand with nothing heard. A movement's light I can't explain. A dancer's touch left me this way. I deceive you, each spoken word denied. Do I believe you? They ask of me. I lie. Sometimes you are my daydream, sometimes an answered prayer. Sometimes you're like a thief in the night who came in when I wasn't there. Ask me now, I'll sing a song. It may not make much sense. Ask me now, I'll tag along. You see, I'd like to learn how. Do you know how to dance, to move, to speak no words, to understand with nothing heard? A movement's light I can't explain. A dancer's touch. To dance, to move, to speak no words, to understand with nothing heard, to go as far or give as much. As there is love, I'll always love a dancer.
Okay.
Hello. I'm Pat Hoppy. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm a former teacher. So forgive me ahead of time if you hear my teacher voice, because the poem I'm going to read, to give you a little context, is about teaching. A little more context, though, is that when my daughter was 12, she and I drove from Williamsburg, where I used to live in Virginia, and I lived there 55 years, so my whole adult life. Anyway, we drove from Williamsburg, Virginia, up to Washington, D.C. to go to the Smithsonian and just spend the day looking at all the beauty that the Smithsonian has to offer. While we were looking around, we saw so many amazing things, but the one item that captured my imagination was a white ball. It was either made of granite or ivory. I'm not sure which. I probably can't tell the difference between the two. But it was carved, if you can believe this, from the inside out, because there were all these little designs inside the ball. And all these designs came from the inside to the outside, which of course was a filigree, because the artist had to get inside. It's hard for me to explain what it was, but it was utterly beautiful. And I thought about that ball all day and all night. And while I was on top of the hotel, lying next to the swimming pool, continuing to think about this ball, I thought, oh, to be an artist. I know many of you are. To be an artist and to be able to produce such a beautiful work of art. So this is the result of that brief experience. The poem is called Simple Habits. And as you listen to it, I'd like for you to think about two kinds of habits: the kind that a nun wears. Her clothes are called a habit, and the kind that we practice every day: brushing our teeth, combing our hair, all these habits that we have in our life. Simple habits. I sculpt no stone. No wheel turns under my grasp. No ivory whispers its intricacies into my eyes. I make no music. No pen is yearned through melodies. No notes are swept into lyrics or fame. I plant no gardens. Lilies and violets grow wild, sitting in the shade, shining past height and into the sun. I write no poems that spell the touch of your hand, the tug of your urgency, the rain of resignation. But care is the habit that I wear: gentle tunic, flowing robe, swept like a sari and made strong with wool. And warmth is my turban, wrapped in upon itself, curving onto the mind, silking its way around ideas. And trust is my shield, my protector, and my weapon. Trap of my trade, staunch with yellow gold, I wear my work, I lend my cloak, I share my shield, and I carry my silver purse of love to students, because I am a teacher. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Bob. My pronouns are he and him. This is called All We Have, and it comes in two parts. This is part one. Do you have to follow me around like a grafted soul on a cancer victim? deep into time, where my face is flat and knowledge and comprehension dwindle to naught. Look, go on, look. There's a bottle on the table. There's human flesh twitching on the floor. I don't feel very good about this, and I don't want to talk about it anymore. Part 2. When I don't know what to do, I remember I used to write sometimes a self-absorbed poetry. I churned the stuff out every day, one couplet. A job well done, if not done well. Each a granite monument of disconnect. Like snipped synapses in my lover's dream. She slept in the next room. Am I dreaming? Eyes closed, I kiss my fingers and press them to her lips. But there are no lips, and I don't know what to do as the fingers push through empty space, lost beauty. At times like this, it's helpful to ask if ever, even once, she dreamt a dream of what might come to pass in 50 years, after she'd long moved on and I became unsteady. If ever, even once, she bent the here and now in such a way that when I touched my fingers to these my own lips, she knew that all we have is each other. That at the edge of myself, I belong to everyone, even her, still. And in the wisdom and wonder of present time, to you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Irene Passmore, and my pronouns are she and her. And I'm thrilled to be here today with probably the people I love most in the world. You and my beautiful family sitting back there. And I want to thank Tom for the beautiful music, a poet himself, obviously. It's been glorious. And I'm going to guess that those flowers are from your garden that you and, no? I thought they remind me of your garden. We had auction hydrangeas from you and Bruce at one point, but not so. I thought maybe you had brought them. But anyway, whoever brought those flowers, they're just stunning. And thank you. I'm going to read a poem called Belonging by Rosemary, and if you notice in the program, her name is spelled with M-E-R-R-Y. I thought that was kind of unique and joyful. Rosemary Wantola Tromer. And I found this poem in an email that I get regularly called Grateful Living, gratefulLiving.org if you're interested in getting it. And it spoke to me particularly because a few weeks ago, I had COVID and I was home and couldn't come to services. And it was the service that the worship committee had 4 people give their, the meaning in their life and how hope was integral to that. And everything that those 4 folks spoke just touched me so much. I have to say I shed some tears that day. And then I read this poem, and it struck me that this kind of resonates with the idea of what this congregation means to all of us. And I'm proud to be a part of such a wonderful group of people. And if it's true we are alone together, the way blades of grass are alone, but exist as a field. Sometimes I feel it, that green fuse that ignites us, an inner hum that reminds us of our shared humanity. Just as 35 trillion red blood cells join in one body to become one blood, just as 136,000 notes make up the symphony. Alone as we are, our small voices weave into the one big conversation. Our actions are essential to the one infinite story of what it is to be alive. When we feel alone, we belong to the grand communion of those who sometimes feel alone. We are the dust that hopes, a rising of dust, a thrill of dust, the dust that dances in the light with all other dust, the dust that makes our world. Join us after services and help us celebrate. We hope you can all be there. Thanks.
My turn. It's wonderful hearing so many people share from their hearts. And I too will share a poem or 2 or 3 with you this morning, but I begin by reminding us that of course where poetry begins and where it ends is a matter of opinion. What constitutes poetry itself is perhaps up for debate. Its shape certainly changes with the changing years. Look only at the variety of poems we have heard thus far this morning. Rhyming lines, repeated consonantal plosives, vowel tones resonating with one another, language refined and language everyday. But all language, not merely that designated as poetic, is a substitution of a series of sounds and or scratchings on paper for the feelings and needs and desires and joys and sorrows and hopes of the lives of human beings. Perhaps poetry makes more extended use of figuration to stand in for concepts, metaphors, metonyms, similes. But deciphering stylized, self-consciously defined poetry is a dedicated exercise in doing what our very lives depend on, communicating with one another. Poetry is a universal tendency to make the everyday needs we all have even more beautiful, more poignant, more memorable. We want to be heard. We want to be understood, to be loved. And in turn, we listen We seek to comprehend. We love. As I mentioned at the start of this morning's service, each week that I'm in the pulpit, I offer a poem as a part of a meditation that 755 people have the opportunity to read in Wednesday afternoon email. And the past 2 years, a group of you, the people you have seen up here today, among them, has chosen to join me on Zoom Thursdays at 4 to share our thoughts provoked by having read the poem. In the process, our lives are revealed to one another. Memories are brought to life. Sorrows are revealed. Joys are multiplied. We share and then respond to one another's sharing. And the only rule is that all will be heard from. Not necessarily concerning the poem. In fact, the poem is just an excuse to get together and speak to one another. But every person gathered will have a voice, will be listened to, will be held, will become part of a growing community. Poetry does all that. Or rather, we do it. But what a pleasure poetry makes of the task. Anticipating today's special Poetry Sunday, this week I offered a poem by Charles Wright that focused on the poetic process itself, how and why the poet writes. I wanted to get at the role, the action that poetry performs in each of our lives. And through the discussion, many things emerged from the 16 people gathered about the role of poetry in their lives. These things emerged. Poetry captures special moments, makes them memorable. It makes up for social interactions, perhaps missed at earlier times in our lives. Poetry allows us to be conscious of the gifts any given day brings. It slows us down by encouraging rereading or contemplation of just the right word to use. It enables us to tell a story, our story. Poetry can hold on to a special moment or allow it to be reworked, rethought, reconceived. It allows us to explore the nature of things unknown or seemingly unknowable, to recreate moments, trying out new outcomes from what had transpired in the past. Poetry allows us to let go of festering thoughts, to clarify confusing times, to open new fields of possibility. And that's just what a couple of people on Thursday afternoon thought about poetry. The through line of it all, poetry allows us to connect with other people. People present, people past, people yet to be. Another thing that all poetry shares, all language shares, it contains within it rests, pauses, breaths. Poet makes evident what we at times forget is true. We can take a moment to breathe. We can pause and live into the mystery of the moment, unresolved. And in the silence, we can be reminded that we are not just all the things we do, that we are capable of so much. That like a poem, we can, with care, assemble a new version of ourselves and live vibrantly into a new day. This from the Book of Hours by turn of the 20th century German author Rainer Maria Rilke. My life is not this steeply sloping hour through which you see me hasten on. I am the rest between two notes that harmonize only reluctantly, for death wants to become the loudest tone. But in the dark interval, they reconcile tremblingly and get along, and the beauty of the song goes on. Each of us is, to use a metaphor, a song that emerges from the perhaps reluctant harmonization among notes, notes that emerge from the silence out of which they are struck. According to some folks who've written about the power of poetry, like Barbara Herrnstein Smith, in a book called Poetic Closure, a study of how poems end. She says this: "In the common land of ordinary events, where many experiences are fragmentary, interrupted, fortuitously connected, and determined by causes beyond our agency or comprehension, we create or seek out enclosures, structures that are highly organized, separated as they are by an implicit frame from a background of relative disorder or randomness, and integral or complete. Poetry gives us a haven from fear, from arbitrariness, grants us a sense of control over our lives that we might otherwise lack or fail to see, gives us an enclosure in which we are known as complete. Poetry creates community. John Fox, author of Poetic Medicine, The Healing Art of Poem Making, writes, "Poetry is simply speaking the truth. Each of us has a truth as unique as our own fingerprints. Without knowing that truth, without speaking it aloud, we cannot know who we are and that we are already whole. In the most profound way, speaking our truth allows us to know that our life matters, that our suffering, our joy, our fears, and our hope are important and meaningful. Simply speaking truth heals." Here, poetry is a life-saving exercise in becoming that which is uniquely ours to be. Poetry transforms ourselves. Kim Rosen, author of Saved by a Poem, The Transformative Power of Words, emphasizes not that we learn to understand poetry, what a poem is about, but that we allow a poem to help us feel. To take a poem into your life is to fill yourself with words that ignite your true essence, aligning your thoughts, words, and deeds with your heart's wisdom and longing. The simple and powerful act of creating a deep relationship with a poem you love can change your life, and through your spoken words, the lives of those around you. Poetry not only transforms ourselves, but transforms the worlds around us. Perhaps it is as my dear late professor of mine, Donald Capps, used to say, that poetry, indeed all acts of care, lead us to break with our usual way of framing events, locating them instead within radically different frames of meaning. Why would we forgo the opportunity to enter into transformational community that has the potential to upend the ordinary in favor of an as yet to be contemplated sense of joy? These are the words of Mary Oliver from a 2012 collection of hers titled Swan. If you suddenly and unexpectedly feel joy, don't hesitate. Give into it. There are plenty of lives and whole towns destroyed or about to be. We are not wise and not very often kind, and much can never be redeemed. Still, life has some possibility left. Perhaps this is its way of fighting back, that sometimes something happens better than all the riches or power in the world. It could be anything, but very likely you notice it in the instant when love begins. Anyway, that's often the case. Anyway, whatever it is, don't be afraid of its plenty. Joy is not made to be a crumb. Poetry is a wellspring of joy, of plenty, of riches, of love, and perhaps something we don't always remember about poetry, also a potential source of a good laugh or two. Now, I always like to end with a good laugh or two, or some weeks. So this is a poem by a very wry British writer named Brian Bilston, whose Facebook page introduces him as a poet who knows it. Here is his How to Avoid Mixing Your Metaphors. It's not rocket surgery. First, get all your ducks on the same page. After all, you can't make an omelet without breaking stride. Be sure to watch what you write with a fine-tuned comb. Check and recheck until the cows turn blue. It's as easy as falling off a piece of cake. Don't worry about opening up a whole hill of beans. You can always burn that bridge when you come to it, if you follow where I'm coming from. Concentrate. Keep your door closed and your enemies closer. Finally, don't take the moral high horse. If the metaphor fits, walk a mile in it. May it be so. I invite us into a time of prayer and meditation with a poem on the life-giving, sustaining power of love by 19th century celebrated poet Emily Dickinson. It's set to a melody by Leo Smith, commissioned for our hymnal, and it's number 299. I'll sing it through once, and then if you choose, please join me to sing it a second time, after which we will hold just a second of silence. And first I'll read the poem. If I can stop one heart from breaking, I shall not live in vain. If I can ease one life the aching, or cool one pain, or help one fainting robin unto his nest again, I shall not live in vain. 299, I'll sing it, 292, 292, thank you, Edna. 292. If I can stop one heart from breaking, I shall not live in vain. If I can ease one life the aching, or cool one pain, or help one fainting robin unto his nest again, I shall not live in vain. If I can stop one heart from breaking, I shall not live in vain. If I can ease one life the aching, or cool one pain, or help one fainting robin unto his nest again, I shall not live in vain. Amen. I invite us to rise in body and our spirit to sing our closing hymn, a much-loved poem and melody by UU minister, the Reverend Rick Marston. I know it's one of Edna Larson's favorites. I know it was sung at the renewal of marriage vows for Jane and Dave Reskoff right here, and I know it's a beloved song of Howard and Irene. Number 311, Let It Be a Dance. Thanks to everyone who shared all of the poems today. I won't say all of your names. I'm going to invite Kat Grauso to close us out for our closing words of benediction. She has some words of Wendell Berry, I understand. You can be seated. Kat, thank you.
My name is Kat Grauso, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. I am so happy to share this poem with you by Wendell Berry, a Kentucky scholar, farmer, and a long-married poet. I chose it not just for those reasons, but because his writing speaks often to the connection, not just between two people, but the interconnectedness that we share, that as you use, we cherish, that moves us through all time with all life. This is The Dance by Wendell Berry. I would have each couple turn, join, and unjoin, be lost in the greater turnings of other couples, woven in the circle of a dance, the song of long time flowing over them, so they may return, turn again into themselves out of a desire greater than their own, belonging to all, to each, to the dance, and to the song that moves them through the night. What is fidelity? To what does it hold? The point of departure, or the turning road that is departure and absence and the way home? What we are and what we were once are far estranged. For those who would not change, time is infidelity. But we are married to death and are betrothed to change. By silence, so I learn my song. I earn my sunny fields by absence, once and to come. And I love you as I love the dance that brings you out of the multitude in which you come and go. Love changes, and in change is true.
Thank you, Pat. And I want to give a special thank you to Tom. And as we continue our time together in the community room celebrating Irene and Howard, let us go in peace to bless the world.